Hi everyone, welcome to Energy Work class. What class is this? Class 4 or class 5? I'm losing track. I think it's 5, yeah. So that means next week's our last class, is that right? Yeah, it is actually. Which is great for me. I get to nap more. So last week we did 4 steps to husbands and the pen, which is very fun, which comes directly from Lord Buddha's teachings via my teacher, Geshe Michael Roach, who was brilliant beyond measure and has put the teachings in forms that modern people can easily digest and remember and use. A lot of the energy work stuff here is my take and my personal experience and my clinical experience working with people who are wanting to manifest their dreams and for some reason cannot, or for whatever reason they're miserable or their life is in some sort of way that they don't want it to be. So I want people to have everything they want. So that's why I'm doing these classes. So you all are my experiment group. And whoever's listening out there in YouTube world, or wherever this gets broadcast, maybe it'll be broadcast in 1,000 years or something. I don't know. I hope so, if it helps people. Okay. So today I want to talk more about contracts. I've mentioned them in classes. I want to get more more deeply into them. And I also want to mention that I haven't been meditating in this class. I don't know, for some reason I'm averse to meditating in the class. Um, but you all should meditate. I know I've encouraged you before. Some kind of meditation practice. I think all of you have had some meditation practice in the past of some sort. That's my feeling. And so honestly, you have to get good at it. Anyone who's ever made a lot of money, gotten really good at any musical instrument, who is a good dancer, anything, anything that takes time to do, you have to know how to concentrate. So, and anything that's worth doing like that, you're gonna run into obstacles. Some of them horrible, um, horrible sicknesses like a plague that goes around the whole entire globe when you're in the middle of your bliss life in India, for instance, Corona, um, or any other number of horrible things that can happen to you. And so, um, you know, you have to decide what you want, and then say, somewhere deep in your heart, okay, either this or something better or death, because death's gonna come anyway. So I just recommend going for it no matter what, and never hurt anyone to meet your goals, right? That's what we talked about. We talked about the 4 steps. If you hurt people, that's what you're gonna get. If it seems like when you hurt people, you get what you want, then you have to listen to last class over. Because the way that seeds ripen, just because something happens after an event doesn't mean the thing you did before it happened is the cause of it, right? That's called superstition, right? Like baseball players like to wear the same socks when they win a playoff game or something. Does that mean they win every game? Like, no, it's good luck, right? As the great Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi said, in my experience, there's no such thing as luck. But the reality is, what's in your mind does very specifically become what's in your world. And in my experience, it's invariable. As best that I'm able to judge what's going on in people's minds from my perspective and from what they tell me and what they're willing to admit, there's nothing but that going on. I was recently talking to someone who I know well and love, and something kind of bad happened to them and they were sad. But I'm like, but you're kind of sad when good things happen too. Like it doesn't actually matter what happens to them. The reaction is always the same, you know? I mean, even if something really amazing happens to someone and they're super happy, unusually happy for like a moment in their life, chances are very quickly they'll just go back to whatever state if you don't do the inner work. So a lot of the inner work is based upon contracts. So what are contracts? So I've discussed in, I think, the first two classes that basically there's nothing going on in our world that isn't happening due to our own free will. The unfortunate matter of the situation is that our free will, the decisions we've made based on our free will, we forget a lot of them. Basically, our conscious mind, in my perspective, is unable to process everything in our minds on a regular basis. So what's going on deep in our mind is basically becomes like our personality traits, the things that we're attracted to and the things that like we're not attracted to. So it's not as though those things in our subconscious mind don't actually hold sway in our lives. They do. They hold a deeper sway than the things in our conscious mind. It's just that we're unable to perceive them in such a way that we can correctly identify them as what's influencing us on a day-to-day basis. And I don't know, there's a lot of ways to talk about this, but I don't know, I've been giving some talks on anti-racism, which means I'm talking about racism. And racism is one of those things that, much like chauvinism or ageism or, I don't know, weightism or good-lookingism, these are things that are so ingrained in us from such a young age, and a lot of them were ingrained in a nonverbal way that we don't know we actually have these beliefs. And so it really does take some really deep inquiry and some meditation, some kind of technique you use to get to the bottom of what's going on. And having like a girlfriend or boyfriend helps too. Because they'll tell you, I mean, any like half conscious, half intelligent human will see another human's faults very quickly, you know, especially if they live with you. Okay, maybe if you just go out like to the drive-in, because like I guess drive-ins are a thing now, right? Again, on Fridays they won't notice. You can like fake it, but live with someone for like a week, and the jig is up, right? And just ask them. I asked someone who I was living with recently, hey, tell me 5 things about me that you've never told me. And they gave me a list. I was like, ooh, okay, those are 5 things to work on, you know? And they were awesome. And, you know, you got to be humble, be like, yeah, of course I'm doing dumb stuff. And, you know, I should have wrote it down, but I started working on it as soon as I could. It was just like, okay, let me just get on this because, you know, people die, you know, you'll die, you know, lives end. And I've had several people die in the last couple of weeks. Um, get to work. So these thoughts, these beliefs, all are in your mind as contracts. All of them, and and you can decide out of them. But to really decide out of them, you have to read your mind. Some people ask me sometimes, "Word, can you read minds?" And I'm like, first of all, Yogis don't talk about their superpowers. Second of all, yes. Third of all, the most important thing to read is your own mind. Because it's like, can I read minds? I mean, yeah, to a limited degree. But a lot of it is just you read the person, right? I mean, their body, their tone, how they hold themselves, what they do. Once you see all of that, I mean, the general themes are there. Can I read like, when people are like, what number am I thinking of? I'm like, I don't know or care. It doesn't matter. What's more important is you know, you hate yourself. I can tell that. How about we start there? They're like, oh my God, how'd you know? I'm like, well, you're depressed and you don't get anything you want, so you must think you're not worth anything. They're like, and they break down and cry, and then I help them. No, for real. I mean, I'm half joking, but really, and if all else fails, if you can't get around the meditation, if you don't have a partner who can tell you everything, or you can ask your brother too. If you got a brother, they'll tell you. Or you're probably not that much different, than when you grew up with them, or sister or whatever. So just tell them what was the most annoying things about me when I was 10, and they're probably the same things you got to work on to some degree, okay? But if all else fails, just look at your life, okay? It's invariable, in my opinion. If you don't have money, okay, you don't want money. If you want money and don't have it, then you don't want money. If you don't have money and you don't want it, then we're good. But the gap between what you have and what you want, in that gap is your contracts. All your belief systems are in that space, right? So whatever it is, if you don't want to see war in the world and you see, I don't know, white kids running around Wisconsin shooting people, then there's violence in you. You just have to admit it. You can get on Facebook or Instagram and be like, stop the violence, blah, blah, blah. You're like, okay, that's cute. And you should do that too, I guess. But like, really, if you see it, I mean, is there violence in me? Yeah, I think about violence all the time. I think about committing acts of violence regularly, I'm I'm from Philly. I'm in Philly. Okay, it's a rough place. And I grew up pretty edgy. Because of me. So here I am. So that's a real thing. And then once you admit that, you can actually work on it. So if just see what's in your world and just work backwards, right? Because it's like, if you're in the movie theater and I don't know, Ryan Gosling's on the screen. I like Ryan Gosling. He's cute. I haven't seen any new movies by him in a little while. I guess Hollywood shut down. But anyway, you see Ryan Gosling on the screen. Do you have to go into the projector room and see if he's on the projector? He's on the reel? No, he has to be on the reel. He's on the screen, right? It's a tenet. It's how reality functions. And like, I'm just telling you, if you think reality functions out of luck or some external power, like a self-existent God or something like that, I mean, those things will get you they'll get you kind of far, but they won't get you all the way, because those systems will all break down. I mean, first of all, because they're not true, and only the truth can get you, only the truth can set you free. But because they don't make sense anyway. I don't want to diss anybody's beliefs or hurt anybody's feelings, but I don't know. They don't. If you want to debate with me, we can. But it doesn't make sense we can go there eventually. But anyway, so if you just try it, and you should just try it. Like this year, at the beginning of the year, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna try this thing for a year, which is just holding myself in the highest esteem, having total integrity. If it's not integrity with me, not doing it. And I set a threshold for myself. I think I said 93%. If it doesn't 93% work with for me, I'm not gonna do it. Anything. Okay? And so I haven't. And like the rest of the world's going through hell. This is the best year of my life. Mm. I mean, I'm sorry about everything else that's going on for people. But personally, everything's going great. It gets better literally like every day, incrementally. And that's the integrity piece. And so and part of that having that integrity is actually aligning with the things that you want and not aligning with the old contracts, which are the things disallowing you from getting the things that you want. And so at some point, you have to make that personal decision. If you don't make that decision, you'll continue to suffer because it's all based on your beliefs. I mean, in the Buddhist worldview, it's like your mind is a projector and it shoots out little images, and that's all you ever see. And even if that's not true, which it is, but even if it's not true, there's no way to prove that it's not. Because you can only ever see images of your world. You can only experience fractions, indications. Somebody wrote me, asked me about this. It's actually kind of hard to find information on it, but Professor Noam Chomsky talks about it. He talks about psychic continuity, which is amazing. And it's so embedded in you, you don't even know you do it. I could give some examples. I think I gave some examples last week, but basically, yeah, how do you know there's a you? All we have is experiences of ourselves, and that experience is irrefutable to us, and that's all you need. And you shouldn't discredit that experience as an experience. That's perfect, that's true, and that's the foundation of like nonviolent communication, right? I felt sad. No one can say you didn't feel sad. You're like, that's what I felt. What do you want? I mean, if you're lying, that's a whole other thing. You shouldn't lie. That's a form of violence, right? But the reality is, your experience of the world is your world. And so, like the Buddhists and the yogis, they recognize that. So they're like, okay, so how do we just change our experience of the world? If all we get is the experience of the world, how do we change our experience of the world? So how do you work with these contracts? I do it several ways, right? First of all, I have a very strong yoga nidra practice, okay? Somebody recently asked me to teach. They said they're teaching yoga nidra in like a teacher training. I was like, oh, really? They started talking about yoga nidra, and I was like, this is a very amazing person. And I was like, oh, wow. They don't know much about yoga nidra. Sorry. And they recognized it. I was like, oh, okay. And it's hard to talk about because it sounds like you're arrogant or something, but I don't know. I want to say it straight up. I've done yoga nidra for like the last 12 years straight. Okay. Every day as much as I could. And I don't know anyone on the planet that's done that much yoga nidra. Personally, there's probably some yogi in the Himalayas or something. I don't know. They probably exist. So I'm the most experienced yoga nidra person I've ever met. Maybe Vic, I don't know. Vic says Dharma Mitra. Sri Dharma. I know he's taught a lot of yoga nidra. I have no idea how much he's done. But Dharma Mitra is no joke. So it's quite possible. But so I'm just saying I'm qualified, okay? You believe me? I'm qualified. So yoga nidra is an amazing practice, and I personally use it as my go-to meditation practice because for me, it reveals all things in the universe, actually. And all those things in the universe are via my body. So long story short, if you learn how to read the body, you can read your whole universe. Okay? And if you're really good, you can read any part of the body. You can read someone's, I don't know if you guys know divination systems. I feel like Haji knows some divination systems. Haji, do you study divination systems? Like,
What what kind? I
I don't
mean, yes, but
like
do you
tarot,
mean like tarot? Because
astrology, anything like.
so yeah, some astrology. I study more like Islamic divination, which is more with like the names of God type stuff.
Oh, that's cool. I just had a feeling. I don't know. Yeah. So, um, all divination. So I've studied some divination systems, but I've also studied like different diagnostic methods. And like, there's diagnostic methods when you can read someone's face, hands, feet, toes, body, posture, breathing, um, energy, pulse, tongue, spine, you know, I Ching, astrology, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The Akashic records, which I haven't really studied that, but I don't know, maybe I could. But basically, the idea is you can read everything. You can read anything and get everything from it. So, find the thing that works for you. For me, reading the body is the best. And reading my body, for me, is primal. So if you basically have to know, I don't know, a little about the chakra system, for instance. And so, like, I don't know, if I have foot pain or something, I'm like, oh, I'm having an issue with being supported in the world. Okay. And then I'll go in my psyche and I'll look for contracts around support. And there they are. You're not allowed to have support. People are scary. Don't trust them. They're gonna they're gonna do bad things to you, right? Something like that will be in there. And so then I'll negate those contracts, and lo and behold, my foot pain will go away. And everything is like that. Leg pain, oh, mobility, oh, you don't feel like you're able to do the things you want, move the way you want. And just use your interpretive mind. And then there's some things that you don't even notice. There's pains you have, like, so I've been a body worker for like, I don't know, actually I started doing body work when I was a kid. So I've been doing body work for like, I don't know, 26 years on and off. And you could touch someone's shoulders or something and they're like, oh my God, I didn't even know they were tense, right? Because they're so used to it. And it's the same thing with your mind in general. You have a huge range of thoughts and beliefs that you don't know you have. Okay, again, I'm teaching anti-racism. So I'm teaching mostly to white people because of the country I'm in, which is the United States of America. And, they're the dominant group. So, I mean, what's the first thing a white person says when you talk about racism?
I'm not a racist.
Thank you, Meg. Thank you. Of course. And you're like, well, first of all, everyone in this country is racist. Second of all, you're definitely racist. You just don't know it. And it's ingrained, right? It's socialized. It's, for me personally, over the last year, I've been, or wait, no, maybe 3 years especially, been trying to confront more and more my feelings of misogyny, chauvinism, male supremacy, all these things, which are ingrained in me. Here I am, world. I admit it. Okay. And as I go down, I'm like, oh my God, there it is. Whoa, there it is. Oh, there's that thought. Oh my God. And so all these things are going on, they're happening, and they're in your body actually. Okay, they're literally in your body, not like figuratively. They're actually in your like muscle fibers. If you get really good, you can actually see like thoughts like floating around in your arm and stuff. That might be weird for you, but it's true. Um, or they might just show up as images in your field, in your body, in your aura. And all those are rooted in these beliefs, in these contracts, in these agreements we have. And so basically I'm saying you have to have some diagnostic method or you won't know where to begin. Okay, there's all these things going on. They're going to bring you suffering. They're going to bring you pain. And like, you're not going to have every desire. Like, of course, you probably want more money. You want a nice partner, a good place to live. You want to be happy, and you know, you want to be successful in whatever way that means to you. I mean, everybody wants those things. But as far as like dismantling the array, I mean, Lord Buddha said there's 84,000 of them. Maybe that was hyperbole, or maybe that's just a number that means a bunch. I don't know. But it seems pretty accurate, actually. About 84,000 issues in every human mind, right? 84,000 things that like, and some don't have names. Like, many have names in English, right? Anger, jealousy, you know, shamelessness, blah, blah, blah. Those all have names. But then there's like 83,000, you know, 176 that don't even have names, that are these subtle gradations of issues we have. And basically, the idea is we wouldn't be manifesting ourselves in this kind of body because if we didn't have those, because our body is literally made up of those issues. It's made up of a whole bunch of good things too, right? That's why we can have this conversation. That's why we can be on Zoom. That's why you live in a place that's relatively peaceful. I don't know what city you're in. Nowadays, it's maybe getting a little hotter around here. 1 second. Haji asked the question. Haji, I'm gonna look at your question. Let's see. This is all the stuff I'm going to talk about, Haji. Thank you for your question. Yeah, so when you start getting into perceptual theory and the philosophy that I was talking about yesterday, it gets really complicated. And let me just tell you, maybe I said last time, but let me just say that it's important not to present that theory to people who have a lot of trauma, who aren't like asking for those things, especially around those traumatic things that happen to them, because to them, it could very easily seem like victim blaming, okay? Is it victim blaming? Yes. Is it victim blaming in the way they think it's victim blaming? No, it's not. Is it my fault, the things that happen in my world? Yes. Does the word fault have a charge with it that could be misunderstood? Yes. Is it my responsibility? 100%. Do I know of a way to regain your power without taking responsibility for the things that go on in your world? No. Should we all act incrementally to our ability to take responsibility? Yes. Okay. And so just like you wouldn't show a kid, you know, a child something sexually charged or something extremely violent, or talk about something of an adult nature, which is like beyond their scope, like emotionally or something, you also shouldn't talk to about those things that people aren't ready for, you know, like your mom perhaps, or your brother, or, you know, your friend who for some reason doesn't get this kind of thing as quickly or has issues in their life. Okay, that's my disclaimer. Don't do that. All right. There's a bodhisattva vow that you're not supposed to do that too. If people care about their vows, if they have those. Okay. Yes. So I'll go right through Haji's list. I like it. What have to do with family expectations? Okay, let me just say this. The reason we're born into the families we're born into is due to the contracts, due to the beliefs that are due to the actions we took, which created the situation, which then turned into a life in that family, right? So many people hold on to those contracts, which then show up as family expectations, cultural beliefs, you know, social norms, and what have you. You know, different cultures have different social norms. Why was I born into the largely sexual repressed culture, right? When there's been thousands, I don't know, tens of thousands of cultures throughout the history of humanity which aren't repressed in those ways, right? They had other kinds of repression, you know, or issues, because all humans have issues. So what I'm proposing is that in my mental continuum, in my mind stream, in my mind, in my subconscious, are beliefs that are rooted in contracts, rooted in the actions I've taken, mostly towards others, which then have created that life for me. Okay? And if you don't want to keep creating that life, then you take apart the contracts. But you have to realize that's going to change your world, right? You're not going to have the same, we'll just say, dysfunctional relationships once you change those things. And there's a thing to that. I mean, it's like growing up. You know, there's a grieving process. And that's real. And you have to realize, like, okay, there's this Buddhist story, all right? Two flies are on a piece of shit, and they're outside this temple, and they're like, "Hey, did you hear that guy talking?" And they're like, "What?" Some teacher's talking, right? And you're like, "Oh, what's he talking about?" I don't know, like Buddha paradises or something. Like there's always teachings there. It's beautiful. You're always in bliss. You know everything. It's amazing. Oh, really? And the other fly's like, "Do they have shit there?" Okay, that's the story. uh no, you know, you're the ways you derive happiness now, there's probably something better out there, okay? Just think bigger, all right? And realize that when we move through these things, when we decide that we're no longer going to be limited in these ways, our lives are going to change. You know, about 19 years ago, let me see, when was that? Yeah, it's about 19 years ago. I decided to become a yogi. I was like, I'm a yogi, okay? Done. And I just dropped everything else. Everyone's like, what are you doing? I'm like, giving all my stuff away. I'm moving out west. I'm gonna find a different life. And they're like, you're crazy. You're doing so well here, blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, I'm not. This is all gonna lead to like nothing, and I'm not okay with it. And they're like, okay. So I left. And so as a result of my decision, which was to not hold on to my identity, which was like party promoter, I don't know, cool guy, whatever, was I within weeks, I mean, short period of time, I found myself in a completely different life. Because I didn't know at the time that I was doing this, but I dropped those contracts. I was like, I no longer have to be this. I'm no longer this party promoter. I'm no longer this guy. I'm no longer that guy. I'm no longer this guy. And when those identities went away and my old yogi identities sprung up from past lives, it was just like, boop, okay. And I immediately was transported to a world of organic food, playing capoeira, doing yoga all the time, body work, and dumpster diving, which was awesome. And I loved it, okay? And so that's what happens. And so you have to realize, but if you're unwilling to, like, they go together, the contracts and the manifestations of the contracts go together. So know that. Your life will change. Haji, what do you mean about not wanting to hurt people's feelings? Like, you say something offensive as far as...
No, it's like not living up to cultural expectation type stuff, like
Oh, yeah.
this sense of like needing, I'm supposed to be a certain way,
Yeah,
and then like not being accepted for not doing that, even though I don't. And then it's like,
yeah.
it just feels like
Got it. Okay, I get it. Yeah, I could talk about that for days. Here we go. Uh Okay, let me say, first of all, you won't. But that's also a projection of your contracts. The cultural expectations you see in your world and the feelings you have about them are coming from the same thing. Right? It's just like when the movie plays, there's music and there's visual, okay? One of my teachers says like your feelings are more like the soundtrack. Ever watch a movie from like the 70s and there's like no soundtrack for like long periods of time? Now you watch a movie, there's like every second they change the sound like down to like the second for exactly what they want you to feel. Have anyone noticed that? It's incredible. They really have it down to a science. But like initially, okay, for instance, in 2002 I became a raw foodist, right? There was no cult. I had all my family and friends are like, "What are you eating? What are you doing? Why we don't get any of this?" And I was like, you know, that's not my problem. Like, if you don't get it, you can read this book if you want. If not, I don't. That's not my issue. But because I was still in the beginning of it, it was difficult for me, and I would get like a lot of people would like pester me, and they would like peer pressure me, and they try to like push me into eating things different or doing things different. And I realized, I was like, oh, after a while, I was like, oh, they're pushing me and peer pressuring me is a projection of my insecurity. Because after some time, when I became more like clear, like, nah, I don't want any of that stuff anymore at all. No one, no one tries to peer pressure me into anything, actually, ever. I don't know. It's very rare. I can't even think of a case at all or a person like that at all. And that's not to say I don't have insecurities. That's more to say I avoid people actually, but but no, but for real, like you have to, with owning your reality, you also have to allow people to own their own. Because a huge mistake you can make is to go out of integrity with the belief that you can help other people out of integrity. It's impossible. It will never work. It's just like enabling or whatever. You're just going to be enabling them and they won't change unless they do the work. Anytime you get out of that lack of integrity zone, be very wary. You will suffer. You will have a downfall. It will bring you pain and you will not be happy and your life goals will not get fulfilled. It's impossible because that integrity actually shows you when you're on path, when you're doing the thing you're supposed to do. And they're probably off path. And what's that saying? Misery loves company. It's just like, sorry, mom, like, I'm sorry you never got it together, but like, I'm not gonna fall into the same mistakes you did. It's gonna not only equal suffering for me, but it's like, there's a saying, what's it? Shit rolls downhill. It's gonna mean suffering for everyone else too. Because an unhappy word is gonna mean everyone that touches me is gonna be less happy. Because I'm not gonna have a smile on my face, right? And I'm not gonna be able to do cool stuff like energy work class or whatever. So there is no family expectations. There's your expectations projected as family expectations. And it's cool. If you really get to the contracts, get to the beliefs, clear the cords and do all this work, you'll be amazed what happens. They'll be like, oh, we completely support your astrology career or whatever. All of a sudden you'll be like, what the, huh? They're like, here's a couple G's. Why don't you just invest in yourself? You're like, huh? Remember, you're the arbiter of your reality. And anything less than that is going to equal problems. Okay? And yeah, ancestral contracts, that's huge. Ancestral contracts and lineage contracts are very big. So we have all of these agreements that are related to this body and are related to the different lineages from which we learned all this amazing stuff we know. Because everyone here is some kind of freak in a good way, right? I mean, you can admit it to me, I know. You know, maybe in your family, you just keep quiet. I mean, that's what I do. I just don't say anything, but I'm like, you know, feeling, sensing, seeing, I'm like, uh-huh. But after a few decades of backlash, I just keep my mouth shut right now and just do my thing. Because I'm not here to change people, you know? Yeah, they say that in Tao Te Ching. What does Lao Tzu say? Oh, you want to change the world? You want to try and change the world? You can't. You'll ruin it. That's what Lao Tzu says. I'm paraphrasing. But anyway, yeah, any of those contracts that don't work for you, if you got contracts to be like smart, beautiful, rich, you know, keep those. You know, they're probably going to help you. Just use them. It's like tools. If you want to be, you know, poor and not smart and, you know, uh, not good looking, then, you know, get rid of those too or whatever. But just any contracts that don't buy, it's all integrity. And you have to be able to feel your alignment. I'm like purposely pointing at my heart and like my midline. You'll actually feel it. You'll know. You know, it's in the most minute things you'll know. Like, should I go to that energy weird class today? Yeah, okay. It seems right. Like, I wouldn't want any of you to do anything more or less than that. I forced myself to go to classes for years sometimes that I didn't want to go to because I made contracts with those lineages. I'm like, I'm going to fulfill all the goals of this lineage. Then after a while, I'm like, wait a second. What am I doing here? I don't want to be here. And I just get more and more miserable as my integrity level shifts more and more from that thing because there's something else that I need to do that is more imperative and that will put me on the path to creating what I need to create more so than that thing that I was doing. And you just have to make the move. You just make the shift. The smoother and more quickly you can make that shift, the better. You know, I just listened to this book on boundaries, and one of the things the guy was saying, what's that guy's name? Chelsea, what's the guy, Boundary Books guy? Charles Whitfield?
Charles Whitfield.
Okay, I just remembered. Thank you. Yeah, I recommend. He's got this great book on boundaries, right? And one of the things he says is, you're free to change your mind at any time. You know, there'll be consequences. I mean, if you signed up for a job for a year and, you know, 6 months in, you know, you're like, this ain't for me. Yeah, you're gonna have to do whatever the contract says that you agreed to, or go to court or something. I don't know. But I found that, like, if you're really out of integrity and that thing isn't working for you, they'll be okay with it. They'll be like, you know what? This wasn't actually working for us either. Oh, that's the other thing, Haji. If it's out of integrity for you, really, it's out of integrity for the other person too. They might not know it, but it is. And I found that over and over and over and over and over again to be true. If it, one second. I'm at my friend's house. If it's not working for you, it's not working for them either. They're miserable too. Like in my heart of hearts, I found this to be true. So you can test it out. Sometimes people won't admit it or they'll admit it later, but you can test it out. Like just ask them, you know, or just check in. You're like, is this working for you? And they'll be like, well, actually, you know, really. Really. And so same thing with relationships. If it starts to feel really off, the reason I say 93% and not 100% is because I like to give myself leeway, because my sense of things isn't always perfect, and things are changing constantly, right? So that gives me like 7% leeway. That's a decent under over, right? Like polling, they'll say, you know, plus or minus 7, right? Plus or minus 4 or whatever. Because you don't, it's somewhere in that range. If you just use that range to decide whether or not things really work for you. And if they start to go off that, just change the agreement. Just be like, well, I know I said we were boyfriend and girlfriend, but now I'm feeling like friends with benefits would be more beneficial for both of us. Does that work for you? You know, and really listen to them. And if they say, yeah, and you have a feeling like, no, just be like, no, you're lying. That doesn't work for you. And I'm, you know, or don't even say that. Be like, you know what? Actually, that's not going to work either. You know, because sometimes they won't admit it because they have their own issues with it. So highly recommend that. And so, yeah, we have tons of contracts, lineages, ancestry, and so on and so forth. And some of those you need to search for. And sometimes I just do general sweeps. Audrey left the room at the exact wrong time, but that's okay. I do these general sweeps. I'll say, clear all contracts in my subconscious that are disabling me from getting as much money as I want, right? And that doesn't mean, that means any amount that I want. You know, if I want $1 billion, then I get $1 billion. If I want $10, I get $10, right? So that's a method. And you have to do it in a way where you're actually in your mind. You're not just like on the surface, like, I don't know, I say no. Like you got to go in. And like what that means might take a little experience in meditating, okay? But you can like go in and start to actually encounter things in your mind. And once you encounter them, you just say yes or no. Okay? Just take it as a maxim. Everything you have now, you said yes to. Right? Vic is like, I want a new apartment, right, Vic? Okay, how long ago did you say that to yourself? You want your own place.
9 months ago.
Yeah. Okay, now she's 100% aligned with that. You know how I know? She's in her new apartment. Yesterday, she was about 95% aligned with it. Right?
That's right.
Yeah. And that's how it goes. And that's why I always do the money thing with the bank account. Like you have all these lineages. If you're like a spiritual person almost at all, you probably have like 100 lineages where you made a vow of poverty. Okay? If you have any problems making money and you have spiritual powers, you made a vow of poverty. Because you have spiritual powers, you can literally manifest anything. And all of you have done it. You've manifested freaky things, I'm sure. I'm sure. I've thought of things so random, and then like 5 seconds later, someone's like I was like, what the, how? Really? Like, okay, first of all, like my credit card thing, I got a new card now because I was like, you know what? Oh, this new card. I just was thinking about it. I was like, no. And then, okay, fine. It was not a big deal. All right. But yeah. So immediately you can be like, okay, who wants to be my victim? Come on. Okay, Haji. You ready? You unmute.
Yeah.
Well, my medical qigong teacher made a joke once. Because, you know, people think of energy work as like not invasive. He's like, actually, this is the most invasive. We could like go into your soul. He's like, this is the most invasive. So anyway, it's gonna be invasive in that way. Just let it be known. Okay, you want to work on some lineage contracts?
Yeah.
Okay, because I sense a lot of strong lineages in your field, okay? Um, especially from Asia, but other places, okay? Asia, North Africa, I don't know, Middle East, a few places, right? Does this make sense to you at all?
Yeah,
yeah,
totally.
yeah, it's how it is. Okay, okay, so let's just do quick. Connect up, connect to your feet and root chakra. Cool. All right, I'll fill the space you're in. All right, cool. There it is. Okay, so let's do some contract work.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Just answer my questions, yes or no, right? You ready? Do you want to make more money?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a hard time making money sometimes, like as much as you'd like?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you feel like you have a ceiling or like just weird, like you can't go any further with the money thing sometimes?
I feel like it moves, but yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. Um, yeah, and again, you do have strong connections to several South Asian, Middle Eastern, and North African traditions. Yeah, okay, cool. All right, cool. Here we go. I'm gonna look at all your contracts and we're gonna clear the ones that don't help you with the money thing, okay? Ready?
Okay. Okay.
You have to give me permission. I'm asking, you're like, I don't know. I know you're still not sure.
As long as it's for the good of everything. Yes.
Of course. I know you're still not sure about me, but it's okay. I'm not sure about me either. It's mutual. No, yeah, for the good of everything. Only for this specific thing. I have no other designs on your mental space, okay?
Okay.
Okay, good. Was being clear. Okay, here we go. Okay, so yeah, you have like a pile of them. I don't know how many are there. I see like 188 or something. So would you like to cancel all the contracts you have to vows of poverty?
Wow.
Oh, see that? Okay, this is proof positive. It's exactly what I'm talking about. You have to think
Um,
about it. Yes, exactly.
yeah, I just feel like when you ask me that, I feel like, I don't know, it's weird. But
Yeah.
yes, I would. I would like to, like, if it's something that's a hindrance, that's not
Okay. Yeah, between
good
70,
for me.
78 and 85% of you would like to. The rest of you is like, well, they're kind of keeping us safe. Okay? That's what I get. My read is that the rest of you is like, well, that keeps us out of trouble. And that's what a lot of those vows of poverty are about. Because if you don't have a lot of money, there's a lot of things that you'll never get in trouble about. Right? You're never going to
True.
have to worry that your bank records are going to go in front of the House of Representatives for like the bank fraud you did with Deutsche Bank, you know? Because you're never
Mm.
going to have enough money for Deutsche Bank to care to give you a loan, right?
Yeah,
Right?
these aren't things I really think about. Like, I don't think about stuff like that.
Well, you purposely don't think about them because you don't want to think about them, and you don't have to think about them because you don't have the money where it's an issue. It's just a non-issue, which is okay. I'm going to talk more about this and related things with you. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, you're very brave to be my victim because you feel very private. So thanks for volunteering. Okay. Okay. You're like, I'm not even going to admit that I'm private. Okay, that's fine. I understand. I'm a private person too. Okay. So, yeah, because you have many lives where you had like none kind of lives, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, so like the vows of poverty go with like the vows of like chastity too. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah, that's true. So, because that's the whole other thing. Like, I mean, relationships are a pain in the butt sometimes, right? There's a lot of stuff that comes up. But if you never have sex or in a relationship, boop, no issues. You know, you don't even have to open those doors. Like, don't have to go there. It's a very similar model. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Just focus on God. Just focus on praying. Just focus on feeding the poor and like, you know, doing your practice. Right?
True.
She laughs. She's like, Are you talking about my life? No, I don't have a camera in your house. I'm reading your contracts. Okay. Um, okay, cool. So, okay, how about this? We're gonna, because you're not ready to let go of all your poverty contracts. I'm sorry. That's why you're poverty. Okay? But we're gonna let go of the ones you're ready to let go of, okay?
Okay.
That's about 78% of them. Okay, cool. So clearing all those contracts. All right. Good. Yeah, you have like 36 more. You want me to look at one of them and see what it says?
Sure.
She says bravely. Let me see. Okay, yeah, okay. So there's caveats, right? So you wouldn't want to be rich in cases where you would hurt people or something. Where being rich means you somehow hurt people, right?
It could be.
Um, yeah, I'm just saying this is what the contract says. And like
Oh,
you do have that belief, like somehow wealth and hurting people are intertwined, right? That's a way people can get hurt by you trying to make money, correct?
yeah, I guess so. I was hoping that I wouldn't have that kind of, I'm aware of like that being a possible thing, but I was like, no, I don't think I
Well,
don't think that's true. Or maybe on the surface, more like,
yeah. I mean,
no,
you're
I could handle it, like I'd be okay.
okay. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, otherwise you wouldn't be in the class and you wouldn't have volunteered, right? But see, you're a very conscionable person, and being conscionable on that level means more to you than the money, right? Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, this is my read. You know, I could be completely wrong, way off. Everything I'm saying, just take it with a grain of salt. Uh, but yeah, but on some level, part of you intertwines those two, and it's creating this conflict where because okay, but here we go. The law of karma, based as I understand it, as it's been taught to me, it's like seeds. You can only get mangoes from mango seeds, right? You can only, if you want kale, don't plant broccoli, right? So wealth specifically comes from giving and sharing and helping others become wealthy. So wealth could never come from hurting people, right? That's a law.
Okay.
I mean, that's what the Buddha said. I don't know what he knows, but that's what he said. Uh, so the idea there is, you know, we're like children, right? Bala, we're like children who mix up causes and effects, right? We think when we steal and we get something, therefore stealing is the reason we got something, right? But the reason we're able to project a situation where we have something in our hands is because we gave something previously, and now we have something in the present. And because we stole something for someone to to gain that thing in the future, we will have less,
Mm.
right? So if we, I don't know, dump a bunch of oil into the Gulf of Mexico to make an extra $1 billion, the reason we get away with it and make the $1 billion is because we were incredibly generous. but in the future we'll experience a shorter life because we poisoned a huge swath of the ecosystem and the people in that ecosystem or depend on that ecosystem. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So those are all separate causes and effects, but they all get glommed together as like one thing, and that creates obfuscation, you know, based on marikpa, avidya in Sanskrit. Okay. So based on that principle, what do you say? Would you like to get rid of the other 36 contracts?
Yes.
Yay! Sorry about my lighting. I thought it was proper light, but maybe it's not good. I don't know. Okay, okay. 34 of them are a yes. 2 of them are a maybe, okay? Okay, so we're clearing those 34. Okay, cool. You have 2 left. All right? All right. Okay. One of them is something related to Islam, and the other one is something related to something you did in India, some lineage in India. Do you want to get rid of those 2 as well?
It depends on what they are, because maybe I should meditate on them if I don't know what they are. Like,
Yeah, you keep them. You meditate on them. You see about getting rid of them. That's your homework this week, okay?
okay.
And you gotta tell me what happens to your bank account, all right?
Okay. Even though I still have, you say that I have 2.
Yeah, you have 2, but it's gonna make
That's not very much.
it's gonna make a significant change, all right? Just be aware.
Cool.
Just be aware.
Thanks. I will see.
Yes, you will. I feel good things will happen, all right?
Oh, good. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Sorry about the lighting. Is this better? I think there's a glare if I do it different. Okay, so how does that process work? If from my perspective, I'm able to see them and read them and stuff, but that didn't come right away. In the beginning, it was just basically like I could just kind of sense them generally, or I would just see like thoughts. I would see like thoughts, or I would just, even in the beginning, you can just imagine them. Just be like, well, I indeed have money issues. So somewhere I must have contracts involving not making enough money. And then you can have just like overriding contracts. I think David asked about it last week, like, or maybe it was someone else. Like, what if you don't think you deserve money or something like that? So we can have contracts that kind of just override or are at the root of a whole bunch of different thoughts. It can be like, one of the big ones is like, I'm not good enough. Okay. So if you're not good enough, then you're going to think you're not good looking. You're going to think you should be poor. You're going to think you shouldn't have a good job. You're going to think you shouldn't have good housing, and so on and so forth. Right? All those things go together or branch from one thing. So a lot of times I'll just go for the big guy, right? I don't know if you've ever been in a fight, but if anyone ever tries to roll on you, say like 5 dudes try to roll on you, okay? You're driving through East New York, you know, you get out of the car for some weird reason, 5 dudes roll on you. Okay, go for the big guy first. Okay, if you take the big guy down, the rest will fall, or they'll just run away. All right? Because they'll be like, because even though it's 5 people, they'll all just worry about themselves and be like, and they'll run away. So mental afflictions are like that. Problems in the mind are like that. If you topple the big guys first, a lot of the little guys won't have their supporting network to keep them afloat, or they'll be just much easier to handle. You can just pick them off one by one, okay? Don't get in fights, all right? Ahimsa. That was just a metaphor. Okay. So what's a big one? A huge one is the thought I'm not good enough, right? I don't deserve good stuff. I don't deserve goodness in my life. And sometimes those are hard to dislodge because we identify with them so much, or they're so deep you even if someone told you you had them, you don't believe them. I think this happens a lot for people who develop personalities to cover up their inadequacies. I mean, we all do this to a degree, right? But like, say you've developed like prideful or arrogance, like something where you're very extroverted in your seeming confidence or something like that. What happens in those cases is actually you're quite insecure, but you have to bury that insecurity to survive on a day-to-day basis. I actually had a friend pass away recently. Really, really sad thing. He's got a he had a young kid, 12-year-old, and really good dude. And I loved him. I knew him for 18 years. And but recently I had a conversation with him. And for the first time in our 18-year friendship, he opened up to me. Okay? Yeah, and I was like, finally, I've been waiting, you know? But I was reflecting on it today. I was like, oh, that's why. Because it wasn't like it wasn't quite a suicide, but it was kind of, he bugged out, and, you know, I think he got overwhelmed, I think, you know. But anyway, basically, your mind is suppressing things for a good reason, okay? Like, it's to protect you. I've been in situations where I just lost it, you know? And I consciously did something to like cleanse or stimulate like a good like healing reaction. You know, I remember once I was in Costa Rica and I was like, I want to open all the doors. You know, I literally said that. I want to like, you know, I want to see what's in there. I want to clear everything out. But it was like a gunman at a concert. Like, everyone can't get out the door at once. Like, no matter how hard you try, someone's going to get trampled. Okay? And that someone was me. Like, if you have 5,000 like demons, you know, figuratively and literally trying to leave you at once, they're going to get stuck. And it's going to turn into a massacre. You know, and that has happened to me several times. And that's why I'm teaching you these methods and these caveats so you don't do these things. You know, just do your practice gradually. I mean, if you're like Lord Milarepa or Shakyamuni Buddha or, you know, Lord Naropa or something, or, you know, Jesus incarnate, then yeah, okay, you know, confront the devil directly. But then you don't need my class, okay? You can teach me. Please teach me. You know, short of that, you have to be careful in your practice. You know, small steps. But if you kind of take the big guys out first, you'll have a lot of success. And if you want to know what the big guy is in your life, because sometimes I'm not good enough or something like that, like I said, it's too deep, and your mind is purposely suppressing that as a means to protect yourself from an inordinate amount of pain, so that you don't get suicidal or homicidal or something of that nature in extremity, right? Because you won't be able to function. Really, you won't. I've been there. I've set up my life for 18 years as a yogi so that if I'm not able to function, that I'm still okay. But people who don't have that kind of lifestyle, they haven't built that kind of life just around their practice, you know, if you have to go to work, I mean, I guess not many people have to go to work right now, but if you have a family, if you have any responsibilities besides your yoga practice, then you have to be mindful because you have to keep your commitments, you know, along with your commitment to spiritual growth. Okay. Um, but yeah, like I said, if it's not, I'm good enough, like ask your best friend, ask your brother, ask your spouse, partner, ask your guru, what's the one mental affliction I need to work on? I asked one of my teachers that recently. I was like, what's the one mental affliction I need to work on? And I thought they were going to say arrogance. They're always saying I'm arront too. So I figured they were going to say that. You know, most people are telling me I'm arrogant. Okay, I'm working on it. Okay, universe. Damn. No, what did they say? They're like, no, you're self-doubt. And I was like, what? And I realized, I was like, oh yeah, the arrogance is covering up the self-doubt. Okay, they're buddies. And so, and that's what I decided to work on this year. I was like, I'm not gonna, whatever my inner self says is right, not like my like outer self that's telling me to eat like random things and do bad things. But no, like my heart, whatever my heart says, I'm just gonna go for that. And of course, my life has become like this miracle. I mean, it was a miracle anyway, but like it's even better. And I consciously listened to my teacher. I'm like, okay, self-doubt it is. Let's work on that. You know, so you ask the loved one what it is. You know, and for most of us, it's something like that, especially with good people. Okay, we're all like good people. Otherwise, we wouldn't be on this class. We all want to help people. We all love people and attempt to actually like act in good ways in the world, right? So, I mean, if you really don't know, I can tell you. If you want help, I'll tell you for free, all right? No charge. Okay, so that is a method of working on your contracts. And so if I was to work on my self-doubt, for instance, I would go into my contracts and be like, any contracts that say, you know, I shouldn't love myself, I shouldn't be happy, I shouldn't want the best for myself, cancel, delete, done. And the person I learned a lot of the contract stuff from would actually have 4 contracts. He would say contracts to cancel, contracts to update, contracts which are hidden, which need to be updated, and contracts where I can agree to, like re-agree to. And I use that sometimes, but actually, for me, I like my method better. But I just do these sweeping ones. I'm just like, edit, cancel, delete any contracts that, first of all, I'll just say anything not in my highest good in my subconscious, be gone. And like, even if that just gets rid of one thing, that's great. But usually it gets rid of quite a bit, especially if you have a very sincere intention. Something about a sincere intention can change your life extremely fast. I mean, like an example is like being trapped in a burning building or something. You have one sincere intention in that case, right? To live. And all of a sudden, all your resources, all your energy is 100% focused on this one thing. Next thing you know, you're leaping out of the 3-story window or, you know, grabbing the cat as you like bust through the door and survive and all these things, right? One of these great masters, these Buddhist masters said, we should study the teachings like that, like our hair was on fire. Like with that urgency, okay? Not with that adrenaline kind of rush, okay? That doesn't work. I tried that. That doesn't work. But with that feeling of like alignment, like, yeah, like you're in the desert and the teachings are a drink of water. Like that, like there'd be no question. If you're in the desert and someone was like, oh, here's some water, you would have no questions, no doubts. You know, you would just drink. And you should get clear on your practices. Like Haji was a little tentative about me going into her contract. Yeah, because she doesn't really know me that well. Like you should be clear on what you're agreeing to and who you're allowing in your mind stream. You know, I'm very careful. I've had people get mad at me because I argue. I'm like, no, I'm gonna argue. I don't know who you. I don't know. No. If you come with it, if you're clear, I don't care. I'll agree. Today, recently I've been listening to these like right wing kind of videos. I'm like, okay, right wingers, give it to me. What you got? You know? And if it doesn't make sense, I'm just like, no, this is stupid. Turn it off. You know, I just stop it. But if it makes sense, okay, you got me. You know, I prefer to be on the side of whatever makes sense. I don't care. I'm not trying to fulfill myself consciously. It's just aligning with an identity, right? So this is the same thing, right? Don't do this because of who. Do this because, you know, it makes sense, you know? And even if that's just a feeling in your heart, like maybe you won't have the logic all worked out, but in your heart, you're like, okay, I know this works for me right now, okay? Oh, any questions? I can just keep going forever.
Funny because I'm reading the Yogi Gupta book,
Oh, good.
and he talks about how basically like because he's a monk, he can't touch money or whatever, but he just whenever he needs something, the money just shows up. That is like exactly what happens in my life. You know, like every time I need something, it's really to the point where like I just book stuff. But there's always a part of me that's like a little bit freaking out. But it's just funny that that's what you brought up.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I mean, it's clear to me that you've had many lives as a spiritual aspirant, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What was my question? It was super fleeting. Let me see. Because there's like an element there where it's just like, yeah, I've lived that life too, and you're constantly like on the edge in a way, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know. After a while, I don't know. I did it for like,
It's wearing me out.
yeah, I did it for like 17 years, man, and I was just like, okay, that's it. I just need bank account with money in it. You know, I don't have to. You know, not like that's perfect or like nothing can happen with that. I mean, but right, but it's wearing, right?
Yeah.
But it does come from, yeah, it does come from these lineages. Like you have some contracts with some. This is without even reading. I'm not reading you at all, but I just know it because of exactly what you just said. You have contracts with lineages, either the same exact ones as Yogi Gupta or very similar ones, where you're not allowed to handle money, which is a pretty, as far as I know, it's like a pretty common kind of vow that a spiritual aspirant would take.
Yeah, like Theravada, I think, that's what pulled me in. That was one of the first things that pulled me in.
Yes, Theravada. Yes, the Buddhist lineage. Yeah, that is one of those traditions. Yeah, and there's extreme benefits of those vows of becoming like a monk, a Buddhist monk. You know, you have access to a stream of energy that is difficult to access otherwise. Not impossible, but difficult, right? But you can have both. I saw my friend's Facebook post a couple years ago. She's like, of course I want my cake and eat it too. What kind of thing is, what kind of saying is that? So yeah, you can do both. The thing is, those vows have very specific purposes.
Yeah.
And the purpose of those vows, and I consciously made these agreements inside myself. I told myself 18 years ago, I was like, I do want to make money, but I want to make sure that I can trust myself with money first, that I'm not going to do anything bad, that I'm not going to hurt people with it, that I can be mature with it. So until then, I just want to have enough to like get by and just like get what I need to get done, right? And I always did, it always would come, it always happened. And then it switched. I was like, I'm not going to hurt anybody. I literally won't hurt flies, I mean, I might get annoyed at people. I mean, that's the thing, but same thing. The reason for some of those vows is, first of all, to not hurt things, right? And second of all, to not distract you from your spiritual practice.
Yeah, like limits what the mind can cling to.
Well, it limits your activities.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very purposeful. I mean, the activities of a Buddhist monk are mainly listening to teachings, contemplating teachings, meditating on those teachings. That's pretty much it. And so, business and those things are considered hindrances. But those are, and this is not to be offensive, those are considered lower teachings, actually.
Yeah, I think I have both at some point.
Yeah, you definitely have both. So I can see them in your field without their, like I can see your color of your hair. I can see them. But so, but so you can let them go. You can say, I no longer need those, just be responsible with money. I mean, that's really the point. And in some traditions, that's what happens. I'm not saying I know everything about being a Buddhist monk by any means, but some traditions, you take those commitments until your teacher's like, okay, get married. And they're like, what? No, get married. Why? Because you're not going to get any further if you don't, dude. Like, go get married so you can get enlightened. And they're like, okay. Okay, now my teacher, was in the monastery for 8 years. I'm sure he was a perfect monk because he's perfect at everything he does. And his teacher's like, okay, you got to get a job. He's like, what? No, I don't want to leave. He's like, get a job. And he's like, what kind of job? Diamond business. He's like, what? Diamonds? That's insane. He's like, yep. And I think he fought with his teacher for like a year or dodged him, the diamond cutter. That's the book. And my teacher wrote a book about it. He doesn't tell all the stories in the book though. But anyway, for a year or something, they fought. And then eventually he's like, I think my teacher's teacher gave a teaching so incredible. He was like, that was so incredible. I'll do anything, Rinpoche. I'll do anything. He's like, get a job. And he's like, okay. And he did. And that became like this huge business and I don't know, made like billions of dollars or something. I don't know. And then he wrote a book about it and became world famous. Oops. I mean, sometimes your teacher knows, just listen. I mean, I'm sure he would have been fine in the monastery too, because my teacher is like some kind a genius beyond measure, but there's a lot of really smart monks, you know, and we've never heard about them. Okay. Let me just tell you something. My teacher leads the biggest Buddhist group in the whole world. Okay. Not everyone knows it's a Buddhist group. It's a business seminar group. It's a Buddhist group disguised as a business seminar group where he teaches people how to get everything they want by helping other people. And in my view, it's the thing that's going to enable world peace the fastest in our world currently. Those teachings and that organization, actually. But anyway, he did it. And now he's like the greatest translator of Buddhism in the English language, maybe ever. Oops. Okay. So, yeah, David, it might be time. Let go of them.
Yeah, I know.
You ready for that?
Yeah, I need help, but I'll try it on my own for a little while. And then,
Okay. Call me if it doesn't work out.
I plan on it. I told myself I wouldn't bug you until this class is over.
Oh, that's cool. Thanks. Wow, my karma's changing. Before people just bug me all the time. Okay. I guess I stopped bugging my teacher. Good question. Yeah, so they're all there. To answer the end of Haji's question, yeah, everything we perceive in our world is our stuff, but if we perceive other people's stuff, one second. Oy vey, something went up my nose. We can perceive our stuff can project as a projection of other people's stuff. Okay? I know it's tricky. But again, you have to be really careful. Just take on as much as you're able to take on. Otherwise, you'll be really overwhelmed and your whole life can come to a halt. I'm telling you that out of personal experience.
Can you kind of like go into that a little bit? You said our stuff can project as a projection of other people's stuff. I'm thinking in the realm of doing body work.
Okay. Yeah.
Just like stuff that I notice when I'm working with someone or
Yeah.
afterwards, or like just if you could just explain that a little bit.
Yeah.
That sentence.
Yeah. Okay, I will. And you have to be really careful with this belief system, okay? It's like, it's kind of like handing knives to children, okay? You gotta be careful. I don't know who's the child in that analogy, you or me, but in the realm of body work especially, okay, I've been doing, like I said, I've been doing body work for a long time, like 27 years. How about that? Getting old. I started giving massages 27 years ago. I haven't done it continuously since then, but that's when I started. And I started to do like energy work very specifically 19 years ago. And excuse me, I never had like personally like a big issue with taking on other people's stuff in that sense of like doing energy work, although I've known people who have had that. I've had minor cases of it. But basically, you'll reach a place in your life, in your world, where you can transmute everything and anything, right? You can touch a stone and it becomes a diamond, literally. Or what happened to the Buddha? Do you know that famous story, Vic? What happened when they shot arrows at him?
What did he turn them into? Flowers.
Yeah, good. Perfect. Yeah, exactly. The demons were trying to stop him from getting enlightened. And they're like, quick! He's going to ruin all our plans! Shoot him with arrows. And it was like a rain of flowers. He's like, oh, thanks, demons. That was so kind of you. You're so sweet, you know? And there's layers to that. First of all, if you don't have the karma, you'll never see arrows in your world in the first place. Okay, if you have a little worse karma, you'll see, wait. If you have really bad karma, you'll see arrows being shot at you. Yes. If you have less bad karma, you'll see arrows and they'll turn to flowers. If you have better karma than that, you'll just see the flowers, right? So if you have the karma to be a body worker, that's really good karma in the first place. Let me just tell you something. But then you're a body worker who sees people suffering, so that means part of your karma, part of your mind, part of your contracts, part of your belief system has this kind of suffering element to it. People have issues. You have issues, right? Right? So then, and in that is the possibility that their bad vibes, right? Their bad vibes could infect you. And I'm not talking about like corona, I'm just talking about like energy, right? Corona's another thing. That could infect you too, if you got the karma for that. So therefore, you really have to live your life as it appears, not just how you believe it is, right? Some people get deluded by these teachings sometimes. It's not that if I see a rock on the ground and I think it's a diamond, it will become a diamond. No, if you got the power to change something to a diamond, touch it and it's a diamond and it's validly that to you and in your world. Meaning you could sell it, someone's like, oh, thanks, here's $5,000 for this unusually huge diamond, right? But if you don't have that level of karma, me and my friends would say just juice. Like if you don't got that kind of juice, then maybe you have the juice to have 5 G's easily appear, and then you can buy a diamond with that. Or maybe you have the karma to be able to work for a year and get a diamond, and so on and so forth, down the line till no money, no diamond, okay? Or no means to get the diamond, right? So that's the range. Diamonds appear from the sky, or you ain't seen no diamond at all, right? And so body work is the same thing. All these things are the same. They're mixed karmas. And so you really have to work with your mixed karmas until you've purified them more. So there's levels and abilities where people can just take on energies that would be horrible and painful for people, just like there's yogis that can eat poison or something. Or there's, yogis that go around hugging lepers, like Amma, and like, no problem, hugging lepers. Does that mean you should go around hugging lepers because your guru does? Like, no. You'll know when you can hug a leper and be cool, or walk into the corona ward at a hospital and like start healing people with a touch on their head or something. Or turn water into wine and produce endless bags of fish and bread for your homies, So anyway, until then, just be very mindful. If it feels like you're getting some kind of pain or getting a headache when you just treated a headache, do whatever you do to clear. Make sure, keep your boundaries up. Make sure keep your energetic boundaries, connect up, connect down. Make sure that you're in the space correctly, and do all the procedures that are necessary to protect yourself. It's the same.
It's okay. I understand what you were referring to when you said that sentence. It makes sense.
That makes
Thank
sense?
you. Yes.
Cool. Yay. I made sense again. This is good karma. Any other questions? How about you, Bethany? You got a question? Bethany just got home. She's settling in.
I was tuned in though on my cell phone.
Oh, cool. Yeah. I saw you in the whip.
Oh, you did? You could see me.
Yeah.
It was right on time. I needed to hear all that stuff though. What
Oh.
I did.
I'm so happy. Good. Okay, I'll keep blabbing. Okay. So I developed this method I like. I just call it like switches. Like, so in my mind, like I'll go into my subconscious and I'll just see like all these switches and they'll be switched on, yes and no. You know? And so like there's a switch right now that says no to $10 million. Okay? That's why I ain't between me and you, I don't got 10 mil. Okay? And so what I'll do is I'll go in and I'll literally just switch a switch to yes. And no, I have the switch turned on for the potential for $10 million now, but I don't have the switch turned on to have it. Okay? It's different. Because if it was really on, like someone would hand it to you. So I've heard a lot of amazing manifestation stories. This one I heard, this woman was in Kauai and she just went to the beach. And her friend's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "Oh wait, or did someone else go on the beach and see her?" She's like, "What are you doing on the beach?" "Oh, I'm waiting." "Waiting for what?" My intuition told me to come here. Someone's gonna give me $10,000. And she's like, "What? How long have you been waiting?" 3 days. "When will they come?" "I don't know." Okay? So I forget exactly how long she was on the beach for, but it's longer than me or you would wait, okay? It was like days. She's on this beach. Lo and behold, after these days, it was more than 1 day, less than a week. I forget how long it was. Someone comes on the beach and it's like, "Hey," I don't know how they connected, but next thing you know, she's walking away with 10 G's. Okay? Like, it's real. Like, all this is possible. And it's not, people have these great, what do they call that? Law of attraction stories? But that law of attraction stuff isn't going to happen if you don't have the subconscious, unconscious belief system in place. And a lot of that is created from your actions. And I mean, some of those actions could be imagery, it could be affirmations, it could be those things. Those things don't hurt, okay? But if you really want to get to the root of it, you have to unwind and clear all of the energetic matrices that disable you from holding that belief system easily. And those matrices are comprised of a series of belief systems. And sometimes those belief systems are so complex that they seem like unentangleable, that they can't be entangled. And then they show up as these energetic masses. And then those energetic masses show up as your posture, as your breathing, as your life, right? And like the parts of your life that are messy, if your money's messy, if your relationships are messy, if your spirituality is messy, whatever it is, you have all these, not intervening, what's that word when two things, contravening? You have all these different thought forms and belief systems which are crossing over each other and forming like a web, a network, and it's messy. And that web or network is formed as your life or that aspect of your life. And then those very aspects then are the same things that create your chakra system. It's your energy system. And that energy system is either the thing that's going to give you immortal life or kill you. Because whatever disease you have, however you die, it's based upon where your chakra system is all bound up. All right? And my dad's in the hospital. And I saw him yesterday. He's funny as always, but something's going on with his heart, all right? Long story short. But something's been going on with his heart, but now it's just manifesting physically. You see what I'm saying? And that's what happens. Eventually, these things, like my homie who just died, like all that stuff that led to his death, that, as I'm aware of it, which is just as an outside perceiver, yeah, that stuff's been going on. I've noticed it frankly, for 18 years. And that's why I was very happy that he opened up. But I think it was too much, too much at once for him, unfortunately. But that's all, like, as you start to untangle, things start to get clear. And it's like those realizations where you're like, oh, I am an alcoholic, like that thing, Oh, I do have a problem with fill in the blank, your problem. Just like blank person said 10 years ago, 5 years ago, last week, whatever, right? It's when the energetic structures rectify themselves through your practice and the goodness which you've generated by helping others, becomes clear enough, then you're able to actually be like, oh, it is indeed the case that I have X problem, right? Or that's true of me, okay? Or true for me. And until that happens, but if that doesn't happen, that stuff will kill you, like literally. Because those are the things that sustain your body in the first place. I mean, how are you alive? Yeah, exactly. Where does life come from? Life is sustained due to causes. And those causes are called, Sanskrit, we just say karma. Right? So, there's a trick. If you want to be immortal, then you just find those causes that would sustain you infinitely. Right? It's a math game, actually. Then you have to do things that help everybody. And the thing that is definitely going to help everyone is you being happy. And you being in integrity. Because at worst, you're going to make one person happier, which is the only person you could make happier anyway. And at best, everyone around you is going to be happier when they see you. And at best, you will have the potential to help anyone that you would ever encounter, period. Because even if they do not get happier from seeing you, interacting with you, inevitably they're going to ask, why are you so happy? And you're going to tell them, just watch my YouTube videos on the subject. And it is all this kind of inner work. And but the work is difficult. Okay, all these contracts and all these belief system things, all these cords and all these things I'm describing can be extremely difficult. Why? Because you will find out all the places in your life where you are voluntarily keeping pain in your world. And it is quite voluntary. And if you don't admit the voluntary nature of your issues, then you will have no way to opt out. And if you have no way to opt out, then you're stuck. And I'm not advocating suicide, but the logical thing to do at that point would be to end it. I mean, if there was no way out, you just want something better, right? I mean, that's why people commit suicide. They're like, there's no way out. I'm gonna kill myself, right? And again, I'm not advocating such a thing, but it's logical based on that set of beliefs. But if you understand these principles, then it isn't logical because you know where your pain's coming from, and therefore, and you also know that suicide won't be a cure for that pain because you're just going to relive it again, right? Because what's the law of conservation of energy?
Can't be destroyed or created, only transferred.
Yay! How the lawyer going to tell you all about physics? Come on. Rest of you got to get on your game. Very good, Bethany. Exactly. And if anything, we are comprised of energy, right? As I went over in the first class, I believe the seven laws of Hermes, right? Of Thoth is, everything's vibration. Oh, wait, I think that's in my acupressure class. I went over that. Chelsea, I'm losing track of my classes.
Get it straight.
So everything's vibration. Everything is like energy, right? Because there's a trick. If everything has a cause and everything has an effect, that means every effect is a cause, which would then set up a infinite loop, right? Backwards and forwards. Then people are like, well, that means we're going to suffer forever. No. The answer to that is no, because it's possible to have the realization that you're creating that suffering. And at which point you would create new things, but none of them would have a suffering nature to them. Right? It's just like waking up from a lucid dream or into a lucid dream. You'd be like, oh, I'm dreaming. Okay, I might as well fly now and do really cool stuff. The dream doesn't have to end. It can just be an awesome dream at that point, right? My teacher has a thing about it. What does he say? He's got a whole story and stuff, but basically it's this whole thing, poof. Like, you think the things that are causing you problems exist, but they could never exist. So therefore, if you understand that they could never exist and they have never existed the way they exist, then poof, in one instance, all your problems can disappear. What's the Sanskrit word for that, Victoria?
Nothing's coming.
Nirvana.
Nirvana.
Van means wind, like the winds in your body, like the prana. Nir means to stop. It means this, like blowing a candle out. Like all of a sudden, you're like, oh, wait, this is just some kind of dream. Oh, oops. Whoa, why don't I just like create everything that's awesome? Okay.
Nirvana literally means a cessation of karma.
No, it means the cessation of the winds.
But wind means karma.
Inevitably wind does mean karma, but it literally means the prana that is not in your central channel. Yeah, it means there's energies running outside your Sushumna Nadi, your central channel of your body, the place where if there's energy, you feel nothing but bliss and you have wisdom. And if there's energies running in the channels on the sides of the body, instead, it cuts off the energy from the Sushumna Nadi, the central channel, and that creates the chakra system. And those things create time itself. And the word calendar actually comes from the same word as that. Karma, chakra, calendar all come from the same word, meaning things are changing, things are happening, things are moving. Car comes from the same thing. Car, chariot, all those words. moving ahead, moving forward, like inexorably, right? Like we can't stop it, even if we want. And therefore, we have to learn to kill time, or Kala Chakra, which means to kill time, to stop death, to stop our suffering, right? Which is a famous Buddhist practice, which the Dalai Lama teaches sometimes, right? Kala Chakra. Sometimes they say Kala Danda. In the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, this famous yogi book, they say Kali Danda. They say take a stick, a danda, like Dandasana. You know Dandasana, Vic? Remember that one? And they say take a stick and just beat time to death. Just like till time is like. But time is your mental afflictions. It's your belief that, oh, I'm just human. Oh, I'm just regular. Oh, I'm just this dude. I'm just whatever. Any belief, any identifying anything, it couldn't be the case. Right? And you really have to go there. I don't know. I went there. I don't know. I think people thought it was, for some reason, people had this weird confidence in me and thought I was crazy all at the same time, but it worked. They're like, whatever Word's doing, it's going to work out. I don't know what he's doing, but it's going to work out. I guess that's because what I believed. I don't know. But it works because it's true. All right. Any questions? Chelsea, you got any questions?
Nope.
I have a question
Okay, David does.
about the plugging the cord into something else. That you
Like when you disconnect your cords from other people's cords that are going into you?
I would like more clarity around the practice of like the magnet thing, where you're just removing, generalized removing, and then the actual cords. Like there's certain parts of my field that I can feel are like specifically related to other people.
Yes.
Like just doing the full on magnet thing. And then with the magnet thing, am I supposed to also connect that to something kind or whatever? I don't know.
Take the next 2 minutes and answer your question. Then I'm gonna go do nothing with my life. I just see a magnet floating in space, and it's there to attract other people's energies out of my body that aren't mine, specifically. And it does. It goes. Let me do it now. Ooh, that's good. One in front, one behind. My friend taught me this one. He's amazing. Good. And then I see them. I explode the magnets with lightning bolts. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And yeah, and then okay, I feel better. I feel great actually. Why didn't I do that? I haven't done that all day. Thanks, David. So that's pretty much that practice. Now with the chords, there's a lot of, my basic thing with chords is everyone should have two basic chords, the earth and their God, you know? They don't need to connect with me, okay? Maybe kids, mom to kids, okay. Yeah, heart to belly button of the kid or something. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Until they're like 13 or something, then you gotta be like, sorry. Like, handle yours. Basically, I just remove the cord gently. I'm just like, and I attach it to some infinite source. And that could be, you know, when I first learned chords, it was like the sun or the center of the universe. So just imagine some infinite source. A more recent person taught me like a rainbow pillar of light. It's as far as I know, it's all basically the same. Somewhere they can get their needs met, because from you they can't get their needs met. If you're the Buddha or something, or an angel, then go for it. If you appear to yourself as a human being with flaws, and you have to sleep and eat, and you get cranky sometimes, then they don't want to connect to you. They want to connect to something else. Or even if they do want to connect with you, you don't want them to connect to you either, because they're going to drain you. It's like energetic vampirism. And it won't work. Short period of time, maybe, like we're having a conversation, we connect. I walk away from that conversation, disconnect. You want to end the conversation quick? Just remove the cords while they're talking, and they'll just drift away. They'll be like, they'll walk away. They won't know why. Don't be mean. But that's how it works. You know, if you walk up to somebody, you're like, wow, I feel like we really connected. You did. Or you walked up to them and like everything you're saying, there's like a miscommunication because you don't have a cord. But you don't have a proper cord between your throat chakras, or between their third eye and your throat chakra, or your third eye and their throat chakra, your heart and their throat, whatever it is. I feel like you didn't understand what I was feeling. Okay, that means the cord from your heart to their third eye wasn't present, or whatever, right? I don't feel like you were communicating back to me the way I wanted to. Okay, your throat to their throat wasn't connected. I don't feel like you understand my sexual needs. Their heart to your genitalia is not connected, okay? If you don't want them to understand your sexual needs, make sure they do not connect with your genitalia, for instance. Right? So, in general, keep yourself clear of cords. You probably have many from past friends, lovers, lives, you know, your mom, siblings, your dad, lineages, and they're all drains on your energy. Especially if you have some like spiritual intent to help people, you can get it misconstrued and connect cords in a way that doesn't help people. And it just brings you down and then enables them. And then everyone is the worst for wear. And then you want to avoid people. You're like, how come I don't like people anymore? Yeah, because you're taking on all their stuff and they're not experiencing their stuff. They can't deal with their stuff. You can't deal with your stuff. You're unhappy. They're unhappy. Nobody wins. Right? Try it out. Okay. I'm just hoping there's a playoff game or something, because sit on the couch. You're all awesome. I really appreciate you coming to Clash. You are the
Thanks, Word.
You're welcome, Chelsea. Please come. So next week's our last class. We'll talk about entities, which everybody wants to talk about. Yeah, if that freaks you out, then you should definitely come. They can be your friends too.
And then we have another 6 weeks, right? No, I'm kidding.
You got to pony up at that point, y'all. Come on. First course is free, all right? Now we could talk about it. I'm thinking about my schedule for the fall. I'll take proposals. If you guys want to shoot some proposals at me, a way we can continue working together, I'm open, as long as it's integrity for all of us. But I do want you all to succeed, and I have more blabbing to do at you. So if you want more, then figure something out. All right?
All right.
All right. Love you all. Have an amazing week, and keep doing the practices. Meditate. Love yourself.
Love you. Talk soon.
Okay. This will be all posted on YouTube if you want to look at it again.
Look me up soon, Ed, so I can, because I really want to like circle back and catch what I missed. No rush, because I know you have a game to watch. But
You want me to send this to you?
yeah, if you don't mind, that way while I'm like still stationary, I can just play it back.
Okay.
There's a lot I missed.
It'll take a little to load, but I'll do it tonight. All things going well. Okay.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Love you all.